This is the METS POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The bats were cold until the eighth inning, and then the Mets rallied for their first walk-off win of 2025, their second straight series win as they defeat the Toronto Blue Jays by a final score of 3-2 on a cold night at Citi Field. Welcome into the Locked On Mets postcast, here on the Locked On Mets New York YouTube channel here. Chris Schubert with you after every single Mets game here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and on the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I know you are all super excited. The Mets pick up a walk-off win at home, and this game had the feel of one that was not going to be a happy ending, was not going to be a celebratory postcast for us here on the channel, but a rally in the eighth inning, and the Jesse Winker game led the charge as the Mets were able to come back, and on a night and in a season so far where the story has been the inconsistency with their bats and the inconsistency with their offense when it comes to with hitting with runners in scoring position, the Mets battled, they grinded it out, and they found a way to get 3 runs across to win this ball game. You could see how cold it was. You could see that everybody was fighting the elements all throughout the game. But the Mets just battled, and they didn't give up, and they picked up another series win. They will go for the sweep tomorrow against Toronto. Let's start with the eighth inning because that's where this game was won for the New York Mets. You felt like with Lindor starting off the inning with the struggles that the team had had up until that point, 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. In the previous inning, they loaded the bases. They used Starling Marte as a pinch hitter for Hayden Senger, and they stranded the runners. That moved them up to 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. So, bottom of the eighth, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, this is the chance. This is the moment, if the Mets are going to rally in this baseball game, that we're going to hear from them on a night where their bats were really cold. It was a leadoff 4-pitch walk by Francisco Lindor, and you just know he is a calm, cool customer. He is not going to try to do too much. Saw that the command was not there, and just took the 4-pitch walk. And then what an at-bat by Juan Soto. Takes the first 2 pitches, right? Wants to see if the command can be there, to see if a strike can be thrown. And he then grinds it out, gets 2 calls that are close, but okay strikes. And then he has to battle, and he muscles one out into left center field that allowed this inning to continue and get Pete up as the what would be the go-ahead run, put the tying runs on base. But it is Jesse Winker who delivers the big blow there in the eighth inning. How about a 2-out, 2-strike, 2 RBI triple? After that hit, that moved the Mets to 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position, but all they needed was that one to get back into it. And listen, we don't need to spare any suspense. We don't need to wait until the second segment to do this. You know who the player of the game is.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's Jesse Winker. 2 triples, 3 hits overall in the game. He just grinds it out, and he's the type of guy that you just love having on your team, and you know that everybody else in baseball hates having to play against him. 2 triples in a game. Lindor did it last year. Nimmo did it last year. It's the first time in, I think, 4 or 5 years that Winker had done it. Just an absolutely incredible at-bat. And this is the rare double dose, and I don't know how often we'll do this, but I have to play another graphic because not only is Jesse Winker the player of the game, but that at-bat in the eighth inning is also our turning point from this game tonight.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Because let's face it, this is a tough decision for the manager. There's a lefty on the mound. There is a lefty in the box. You have 2 right-handed hitters, Tyrone Taylor, Luis Angel Acuna, sitting there in your dugout. You can go to a right-handed option right here and get the matchup that you probably like, and you would feel really good about your chances of plating some runs and maybe completing the comeback. But Carlos Mendoza made a choice. And the choice was, I am going to stick with my lefty. I'm going to stick with the guy who is playing well in this game. And on a cold night, has been in this game for, at that point, up to 8 innings. He has been involved. He's been up. He's been down. He's been running on the base path. So this is not somebody who is coming off the bench cold in terms of a pinch hitter, but is coming off the bench extra cold because it is cold outside. So that is a roll of the dice. That is a gamble that is going against the numbers by Carlos Mendoza, but you can understand why he did it. The broadcast pointed it out. Ron Darling said, you've got guys that are legitimately cold on the bench because they've been sitting around for 8 innings on a night where when Edwin Diaz was on the mound in the top of the ninth, it was 44 degrees. So it was a cold, windy, it was rainy. I mean, it was just not a night where you think you're going to have your best coming off the bench. So stuck with the guy who was hot, stuck with the guy who already had 2 extra base hits in the game. And, when you're pushing the right buttons, good things happen. And Carlos Mendoza pushed the right button, and it led to a massive, massive hit. And Jesse Winker, you love that he's on this team. You love that he is just providing that energy, and he's getting there to third base and he's pointing to the ice in his veins and he's mouthing it to the dugout, and he's just a ball of energy in the best possible way. And that set up the 9th inning. Edwin Diaz, a little scary, had to walk the tightrope a little bit there, but we've come to expect that with Edwin Diaz. But he gets out of it in the top of the 9th, and in the bottom of the 9th, it is the bottom part of the order. It is Jose Siri making stuff happen by drawing a walk. It's Jose Siri taking the extra base when the ball gets by, and that speed proved to be the difference on the Lindor sac fly. And shout out to Luis Torrens, who was scratched from this game with a forearm contusion, who comes into the game late for defense and then has to swing the bat in that spot and is able to dump one into left field to move Siri up to third base to allow Lindor to drive him in with the sacrifice fly. And Francisco Lindor wasted little time, jumped on the first pitch and delivered the game-winning sac fly. Just a awesome game from the New York Mets tonight late. The bats were cold early, but they did not allow that to deter them, and they made a big comeback there in the latter stages. We got to talk about Griffin Canning's first Citi Field start, his second start in a New York Mets uniform, and what you'll be talking about. And no, it's not Jesse Winker. It's not Francisco Lindor. It is what has become, it's not so much a secret weapon for the New York Mets because they've been using it a lot, but it is a huge weapon for them down there in that bullpen. We'll talk about that here on the other side. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. Whether you're recovering after a workout or you need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tip, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Back here on the Locked On Mets postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. Chris Schubert here with you. And maybe those of you here on a Saturday night joining us for the first time, don't worry. Nothing is changing about the Locked On Mets podcast. Ryan still has you covered Monday through Friday with those longer form deep dive episodes. I've just got you covered after each and every game. Think of this as your spot the moment the game ends to come together, have some fun, react to everything that occurred, rapid reactions the moment the game is over. I've got you covered, and I will be back with you tomorrow after the New York Mets try to go for the 3-game sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. So again, disclaimer, nothing's changing about Ryan and the Daily Show Monday through Friday here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and on the Locked On Mets podcast feed. Just a little extra content for you, a place to hang out after these games. And on a night like tonight, when the Mets pull off a walk-off win, there's a little bit of a different feel here in these post-game live chats. We're very excited after the Mets pick up a win like that. Griffin Canning only made it through 4 innings, tried to lumber through 5. Thought he had the slider working early, just had some elevated pitch counts, just couldn't have back-to-back crisp innings, right? He had a 1-2-3 third, but that was really it. He had trouble in the first, he had trouble in the second, and he had trouble in the fourth. And the trouble, it wasn't necessarily a ton of base traffic, but he would get the first 2 outs. That's how the first inning started. But then he allows a base runner, and he has to throw some extra pitches, so he's over 20 pitches in the first inning. In the second inning, the at-bat to Springer to start the inning. Slider, made George Springer look really, really silly. And you have to battle through another 2-out base runner. And so now your pitch count is elevated, and you couldn't get into the latter stages of this game. You couldn't get into the 5th and 6th innings, which is really probably where you'd like to see Griffin Canning land here. But this is a tip of the cap to the Mets pitching lab because you're seeing it. This is a guy who they've completely reinvented his arsenal. They're telling him to use the slider as his primary offering. He's using the fastball and the changeup as his secondary type pitches. And the pitching lab, it's working. I mean, you have to give credit where credit is due. They identified something in Griffin Canning last year that they thought they could enhance, that they thought they could make better. And through 2 starts, I think you have to like what you see. You would like to see that length, and I think that will come with time. But tonight had the slider working, just couldn't put together those crisp, clean innings. And that's kind of been the story for the Mets starting pitching a lot here in the early stages, is that guys are kind of cruising along. Tyler McGill did this yesterday. I don't want to say cruising for Canning, but you felt like he was in control of the game. And just all of a sudden, there's these blips that just stack up over the course of the game. And then you can't go deep into the game. And I see it in the comments. Yeah, Chris Bassett, old friend Chris Bassett, had a nice performance. He had the Mets hitters just confused all night long. I mean, he dominated for a large stretch of this game. I mean, into the 7th inning, sat down 9 in a row before Mark Vientos broke that up with a 2-out single. So he was cruising in the middle stages of this game after the Blue Jays delivered him a 2-0 lead. But before we get out of here, we have to talk about what I think is one of the more underrated parts of this game. Jesse Winker and the multiple extra base hits, obviously a big talking point. The Lindor walk-off, obviously the reason why the Mets win the game. But something else you're going to be talking about is the Mets. They have some serious firepower down there in that bullpen.
This is what you'll be talking about.
The Mets have 3 guys that are multi-inning Swiss Army knives. And tonight, you didn't have to use a lot of your high leverage relievers other than Edwin Diaz when the game was tied. And when you're home, you're going to use your closer in the 9th. But Huascar Brazoban and Jose Budo have shown early, and Max Kranick, even though he didn't pitch tonight, that this is a weapon for this Mets bullpen. It allows them to not overuse your high leverage arms like a Reed Garrett, like an AJ Minter who's coming off of a hip surgery, like Huascar Brazoban, or like Ryan Stanek, excuse me. Brazoban and Budo save those guys so that you're not overworking them. Stanek and Minter, they're the setup guys. They are going to be a key cog in this team going far this season. There's going to be plenty of times that we get together here on these postcasts, and we're going to talk about 6 solid innings from a starter. Minter, Stanek, Diaz shuts it down. We're going to have games like that, but you don't want that to be every single night. And in the early part of the season, to keep those guys fresh, especially Minter coming off the injury, you really have to just applaud what the Mets have been able to do with Jose Budo, with Huascar Brazoban. I mean, the Mets aren't in a position in the 8th inning to have that comeback if Brazoban doesn't give them getting out of a jam in the 6th, pitching in the 7th, and then pitching in the 8th, 2 1/3 innings from Huascar Brazaban, and Budo and Brazaban and Kranick, the ability to go multi-innings, the ability to kind of bridge from your starter to your group of high leverage relievers. And if you can time it right and you have the right matchups, now all of a sudden you're not using every single high leverage reliever every single night. And that is a benefit that the New York Mets are going to have over a lot of teams. Look across baseball. There aren't many teams that have a bullpen setup with this type of strength the way the Mets do. And so far, it has worked to a charm. I think at times you wonder why Reed Garrett's not in the game or why Ryan Stanek's not in the game, and instead it is Brazoban for 2 innings. But it pays off on a night like tonight, and you see that they're just pushing all of the right buttons. So on a night in which they were cold with the bats, it was cold outside, the offense is still a concern. I always would rather be talking about the issues with this team after they win than after they lose. And if the motto of this team is going to be similar to the one that they had in the second half last year of being the comeback kids, of being able to never be out of it, to in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning be able to put together these kind of rallies, then I think we are in for a very, very fun season. So you've got a okay start from Griffin Canning, kept them in the game. Jesse Winker, breakout performance, a really great 8th inning rally set up by the top part of your lineup. Your bullpen is able to bridge the gap to Edwin Diaz in the 9th, and then you get the walk-off from the MVP, from the captain of the team, Francisco Lindor. So it is another series win for the New York Mets. They will go for the sweep tomorrow against the Toronto Blue Jays, and we will be right back here. You and I will be here after that game concludes, hopefully talking about a New York Mets sweep. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you are notified when we go live here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. You can join us after each and every Mets game for these rapid reactions with the Locked On Mets postcast. But that is going to do it for us here on this edition of the program, of the postgame show. As the New York Mets rally late, Jesse Winker with the big hit in the 8th, Francisco Lindor walks it off in the 9th as the New York Mets pick up their 2nd straight series win, and they will go for their first sweep of 2025 tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.